Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my podcast today. Today, I'm welcoming Joachim Niang, who is analyst at Nordea and who graduated recently at the University of Vaasa with a master's degree in finance. He received an outstanding grade for his master thesis, and the topic of his thesis was artificial intelligence and hedge funds performance. Welcome, Joachim. Yeah, nice to see you. And first of all, congratulations. You have recently graduated at the University of Vaasa, and the topic of your master thesis has been artificial intelligence and hedge funds performance. I was wondering, could you in a few sentences describe what you have done in your thesis and what have been your conclusions?
So firstly, in my thesis, I was basically comparing hedge funds. So I divided them into different types of categories based on these different trading styles that they used. So I had 4 different categories that these were all based on the level of automation that these funds have. That these trading styles categories went from basically fully manual to then a bit more some funds that utilize both manual and automated, and then to fully these automated and artificial intelligence funds. So these categories that I had were firstly these discretionary funds, which were fully manual. Then these combined funds, which were basically funds that used basic types of algorithms along with some type of manual intervention that, for example, these funds could by themselves determine when a trade is actually opened, and these algorithms just give suggestions and things like this. And then we had systematic funds, which were funds that were just using basic types of algorithms. And lastly, of course, these AI funds that used artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies for their trading and were basically fully automated. And then the performance of these hedge funds was compared using these common factor models. So we have this Fama-French 3-factor model, then this Carhart 4-factor model, capital asset pricing model, of course, and then this 5-factor model. And well, to put it simply, these conclusions we just had, that these AI funds clearly outperform these hedge funds of these different trading styles. And we were also able to see that the persistence of these funds was that this performance of these funds, was persistent that across this time period that we were observing. So yeah.
So you have basically three groups of hedge funds. So you had this group that were fully automated, this artificial intelligence and machine learning funds. Then you had two groups basically where we have some sort of machine involvement in the decision-making process, and then you had one group where you have been the highest level of human involvement, and then you found basically that those funds that have the highest level of automation, they outperformed all the others, right?
Yep, that was exactly correct, and of course very interesting findings, at least from my viewpoint. That's of course what I wanted to discover as well. So your original research question or your idea has been confirmed by the data, right? Yep, exactly. So,
and I remember you had also a very huge data set. I think I've never seen any study that has been conducted with, I think you went through almost 60,000 hedge funds, right? So this is a huge data library that you created.
Yeah, that was basically, I only had this access to this database for 2 weeks, so it was entire 2 weeks.
So you work basically you work basically day and night then for 2-week period.
Yeah, I went to sleep at 4 a.m. and was doing this. So it was a very enjoyable time. But
yeah, I can imagine that is really a huge
at least
work. Yeah, and based upon your
Yeah.
findings from your thesis, well, how do you think will the future look like? Do you think that the future in the hedge fund industry, will it be fully automated and humans are not of use anymore, or what do you think will happen?
Well, this I was thinking a lot that like it's kind of a tough question because like that in this thesis we were able to find that these AI funds are like better and they perform better, but there was also this that they were like of small size. That then you would think that okay, when they like grow, then maybe they won't be able to take advantage of the same like kind of types of market dislocations and so on, these strategies that they had, and they wouldn't be able to be as flexible as with like AI. You can have many different types of strategies, and you're able to jump from strategy to another one and so on. That if you have a lot of investors, maybe you're like being held more accountable, and then you don't have this flexibility. And also this that, well, it depends a bit, but at least I see it like as such that they don't have that like strong competition, like as of yet, at least, that they are, still more like free to go with these models that they have. And my like two scenarios for this question were this, that as this competition increases, then maybe it will go similarly to how this high frequency trading like has been going, that profits just get like smaller and smaller and diminish, and then they reach these like limits of technology and how far computing power can go, and then it just becomes this dead end, maybe. Or then of course there is this possibility that these systems can just continue to evolve and find maybe more diverse opportunities. And maybe like I was also thinking maybe like these markets might become a bit more diverse in a way that everyone is kind of taking advantage of like little opportunities here and there, and not like all going after some basic like momentum and so on. That like very tough question in the end, but at least I'm sure that these like systems will be used like as some types of systems to assist this decision making process. That like I'm fairly certain about, that to basically provide some additional insights for fund managers.
Yeah. And I remember that in your thesis you also wrote that as of now, at least so far, AI funds are not so popular because investors, they don't trust machine intelligence. That's why also the market capitalization of those AI funds is much lower than compared to those hedge funds that are run by human managers. And do you think that this will change in the future? Do you think that people will trust machine intelligence more?
Well, yeah, I like mainly I think that yes, that because just this that there is like more technology in everything and all these like Internet of Things and so on, and how like for example Facebook like tracks what you open and then you get these ads, and that people are just getting more used to technology being everywhere and all this like artificial intelligence, that I would think so, yes. But for like this hedge fund purpose, I think it's mainly about this, that how well are they like able to explain how these models function, because from these research papers that I was reading, this fear is basically caused by like lack of knowledge, that they just like how it's just that okay, we get data and then it goes into this model and then we buy or sell, that it's super difficult to like explain that what like mathematics happen, and that causes people to be very like suspicious of these things. So if people if they're like better able to explain how things actually work, then I would think so. But maybe it can also be like this, that in the future some human manager is like more valued if like everything is a bit automated, that maybe then that will be more special. That like many like interesting angles, I think.
Yeah, I think also that actually one very interesting thing that I found a little bit let's say, special that actually also those hedge funds that are run by, that have the highest level of human involvement in decision making, they have also alphas, right? They were generating also alphas, but if you mix it up, if you have like a medium level of machine involvement and a medium level of human involvement, those funds, they underperform. I mean, this was also something that was very interesting to find. So you also have been showing that the those hedge funds that are run by managers, by human managers, they have also exposures to these traditional risk factors, right? So as opposed to these artificial hedge funds, which have a high level of automation, they are basically unrelated to these common sources of risks. This was also a very interesting finding, I think. So those hedge funds that are run by or that have the highest level of human involvement, they are somehow exposed to the same risk factors. So that tells me that these managers basically they make the same bets.
Yeah.
Whereas if you employ machines, they basically get rid of that noise somehow. They find their own ways through the markets. It was also a very interesting finding. But do you think that in the future that it could be if more and more hedge funds adopt this artificial intelligence, that they basically find the same strategies and that stocks can be, or that assets in general can be at some point overpriced or wrongly priced, like we have seen, for instance, in the beginning of the year when we had this small company in the US, GameStop, that's basically where the stock price.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is possible also through hedge funds, that they basically run the same algorithms and they make the same bets? And do you think that this could somewhat affect the markets in the longer run?
Well, I definitely think that's possible. That there was this, like in one research paper that I was reading, there was like some quant crash. I think it was in 2007. That it was something that just all these funds were.
Was it this meltdown crash, flash crash? Wasn't it? But wasn't it in 2010?
Well, that was,
right?
Yeah, there was that as well. There was like two, I think. That flash crash was this high frequency trading, like that thing, and then there was something that just like these quant funds in general, like were all like similarly exposed, like to some factors, and then they went down, and that's why. But yeah, it's like I can definitely see that happening as well. And well, one of these like comparisons that came to my mind was this, like, letters and emails, that how before when you had some email that was a super big thing, and now when you have a letter, then that's a big thing. That maybe one day, some 100 years, it will be like this opposite. Honest, but like at least I'm getting like a lot of interesting ideas and so on about this.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see like what happens.
I've just read some in a book from Ray Dalio, the founder of Bridgewater Associates. He was writing this book, Principles, and he was a little bit concerned. I remember that he was a little bit concerned about the recent development of artificial intelligence and machine learning in hedge funds industry, and that there may be, that he argues that there could be a risk that if different funds they run the same algorithms, that at some point it could lead to that it affects asset prices because they make the same bets. And
well, yeah, definitely could be possible.
Yeah, I mean, as always, I mean, if you have something new, if you have a new technology, then you have also new sources of risks, right? So we don't know that yet. So, but we will see probably in the future what will happen in this interesting growing market. Yeah, I have also one question. So, what have been the major challenges when you conducted your thesis? How would you describe in brief?
Well, to describe in brief, like data, that was like the number one challenge. That basically, like ever since I had this idea, like way back, that I want to do something with like artificial intelligence or algorithmic trading, and then like finance. That, for example, I found these hedge funds, but like this data was so difficult that I ended up getting data from this Preqin, this hedge fund database. But for example, that process took nearly 4 months. So I sent like this first emails in December of last year, and then I got the data in March.
Okay.
So, and it was kind of a long process, emailing back and forth, like I think at least 50 times. And
50 emails. Crazy.
Yeah, like it was like this, that this database was very expensive, like some 30,000 euros a year. So
yeah,
like
yeah. So that's a very expensive database. And luckily you got trial access to that database. So, but only 2 weeks, right? So you were two working nonstop.
So that's kind of how it was. And I actually sent emails to 5 different these data providers as well, but don't know for what reason, but I never received an answer. So
yeah,
like,
but this database that you use, called Preqin, they have the is this the number one database for hedge funds, or are there also other databases that one could consult?
Yeah, well, there is, for example, this hedge fund research that is like used a lot, but just for this thesis, it wouldn't have been that good because I don't think they have any like this AI, like that they would be separately, that it's just hedge funds and different strategies and so on.
Yeah.
And then I had like some consulting firms that had some like data sets and so on, but like that didn't really get started.
Yeah.
But basically my dream data set was this that I got, so all ended well in the end. But was difficult. And I also think that it's just this topic that, you know, how hedge funds are so like secretive, and like all this data and some insights that you can get, like no one basically wants to share anything. Like
exactly. So that's what I read from your thesis, that this was difficult because hedge funds they keep their secrets. They don't want necessarily to reveal what they do, and then you have also the problem that you needed data on automation, right? So you needed this for the sorting of the hedge funds. You needed the data on automation, right? So that was the thing. Yeah, I know that you worked already at Nordea before you finished your master thesis, and I was actually wondering, okay, do employers nowadays not any longer expect that their students actually finish their studies before they start working full time? So how come that you ended up at Nordea, which is, I guess, a dream employer for most students in financial economics? So I was wondering how is this nowadays?
Well, for me, it was kind of funny that when I actually entered the university in 2016, we actually had a like 2-hour lecture, like from Nordea, and you got like this like ECTS point for that, I think. And in that, they were advertising this Nordea like trainee program, which is this FFP, this future finance professional. That is like a summer internship. And I got accepted to this 2019 summer internship. But then already like in February, I was like called that, hey, can you start earlier? And then I started like at this March 2019 and been there ever since. And I hadn't actually even gotten my bachelor's degree back then yet. So
it was,
definitely.
It was even before you graduated with your bachelor's degree.
Yeah, that I actually returned my bachelor's thesis the week before.
Okay.
It was kind of early, I would say.
yeah. But it was but they offered you already a permanent contract before you were actually ready with your bachelor thesis? Or
no, it was till end of September, that like this, from March to September 2019.
Okay, so this was just the internship first.
Yeah, but then like it just went like this, that, you know, I was doing super well there and like doing like good at this job. So then at the end of September, they were like, okay, you want to continue? And then I did that, and here I am still at the same place.
Yeah,
That,
yeah.
it's been
That's
now like some 2.5 years almost.
that's great. That's already a very great experience, because job experience is also important, and you have done both at the same time somehow. I mean, that's amazing how you managed to run both, like work and studies at the same time. I mean, that's
Uh,
amazing. So how
but
would
yeah,
you
it's
how would you describe like a normal day at work? What you do
hmm.
right now in a couple of sentences, just.
Well, two maybe like that. I'm basically helping to develop like different types of internal tools that, for example, for like some valuation or like reconciling that, checking the data from one database matches another with some like automations like this. And then like I serve kind of as this like subject matter expert, like this SME for this like some like types of Nordea markets, this data that they have, that I'm doing things like that. That, for example, daily I have some emails that, hey, like, is this data okay? Where can I find this? And so on. I help with things like that. And then I always have like some bigger project that I'm doing like at the same time as well. So I think one like interesting one that just actually finished was this like stress test that they do for banks like on a yearly basis in Europe. So this
Okay.
European Banking Authority that they do the stress test. So I was providing data for that and then reconciling and analyzing data. And then always when the central bank had some question, then like it went through different levels, but then kind of part of it ends for me, and then I analyze and try to answer. So that, yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of like cool in a way that still it's something that then you can later read in some magazines that, okay, Nordea is doing this well in this.
Exactly.
Like this stuff.
So you have basically you have some part of your job is let's say routine work, where you work with databases, and the other part is where you work in different projects, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yep. And it's been like pretty fun job in the end that I have at least liked them. That's why I've been here for so long.
Yeah, that
Like
sounds
just this.
yeah that sounds very interesting. That sounds that you basically learn something new all the time, right? If you do all the
Yeah.
time different projects. And what is your
Yeah.
time? I mean, how much of your working time do you allocate to routine work, and how much would you allocate to project work on average? Is it like 50-50 or more in
I
projects?
would say, yeah, it depends a bit on like time of year. I'd say that, for example, this EBA stress test that we
Yeah,
had like was basically entire February and March. That I didn't do anything else. That I was just doing full time that for like 2 months. But for example, right now, like yes, there are projects, but nothing like super like busy at the moment nowadays, like the summer season. So then it's more like helping with data quality and doing like these basic tasks here and there, and like all these that were left like not done before. For example, improve some tools, and so on. That I do like code at work as well, and things
okay.
like that. That
So,
is,
so what,
and one thing that I like there is, yeah, was just this that whenever there is like something that, okay, do this, that then you can like kind of freely decide how to like approach it and how do you want to get started and so on.
yeah.
That's at least one good part.
So you can basically, you have to be very creative. You have to find your own way through it. Is it so?
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, a bit like that. For example, I like to always try to find ways to automate things, and that's why I
of
did this
course.
master's thesis as well. So like, I'm always doing some little tools here and there.
Yeah.
That is
So
like fun for me.
if you look now back at your studies at university, um, what do you think are the most important tools for what you do? I mean, what are there any courses that you think are very helpful, and other courses are maybe not that helpful for what you do? What's your, or is it so that that nothing is actually useful and you have to learn everything by doing? I mean, what is your opinion on that, or what is your experience on that?
Well, my own experience kind of, well, firstly, I think I would say this, that like some students should just like know this, that what are they like interested in, that, and then like plan your studies around that. That would at least be my main thing, because for me it was kind of, when I started university, I was already interested in trading, and then I had this like idea that okay, trading is like interesting, but what if I could automate this and it would still have the same results? And then I learned programming like during the same time that I was in university, and I was like always combining this finance and programming side, so those two things. And that was my bachelor's thesis, and now this master's thesis as well, but always like some finance side and then some programming. So all my classes were around that. So for example, really helpful were like this MATLAB course that you had, and then like these basic statistics courses that are in this master's degree as well. And also I would say like some basic finance courses that like this, how like this financial derivatives and this investments course and like this, that they were at least really helpful for me. But well, for some basic student, I think my biggest just tip is to try to find like what you're really interested in, because that like really helps. And also this, if you don't know what you're interested in, to maybe take courses from a lot of different topics, that you kind of have like a wide angle, and then you can maybe see that okay, this is what really interests me, and then go from there, something like this. But in working life, I think everything is like still useful. That I haven't really had that okay, this was completely useless or something like that.
Yeah.
Everything helps.
So I mean, if you say programming is important for your job, but actually at the university right now there are not so many courses that offer actually programming, or that where you actually basically learn different languages, right? It's actually only this one course, and this is very basic. But which programs? So was it so that you learned by yourself programming on along the way in your studies, or did you take courses at other schools, in the School of Technology, or how did you solve that problem?
Well, I basically learned like all by myself. That I was just like combining things that I learned from school. That it's like step by step. That just like little things that I didn't know anything when I started, and now it's been like 6 years almost. That now I'm like kind of good at it. But I was using just this online, like that there are super many like free resources that you can find. That I'm doing this Python right now mainly.
Python.
But for example, this Udemy, these online courses and videos, they cost like some €9 for like some 20-hour course.
Okay, so you basically bought, or you invested your own money for getting the education in programming.
Yeah, and like you can of course do this for free as well. That's like at least one good thing about Python, that you can find anything you want, like in some YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So
and which programs are you using now, if I may ask?
Well, right now I'm still at Nordea. I'm like using mostly this Python. But on my free time, I'm a bit learning this Swift as well, which is this that Apple uses to do like apps. Because I'm just like because I have like my own these algorithms that work as well, like for trading. So I'm doing this, that it like looks all fancy, that it has like this, that it looks like an app on your phone, and like more complicated things like this now that I have more free time.
How is it nowadays with languages or with programs like C++ or Visual Basic? Is it still used in the industry, or is it like old school?
Well, some Visual Basic, like at least not that much. At least for Nordea, I think it's mainly like any like proper developments are done with some Java, but then like all these like quick tools that you have are mainly with Python, pretty much. And then there are some like old Excel, like these macros and so on. But Python seems to be like this tool of choice for like quick things, at least. It's so like quick to have some idea, and then by end of day you already have something like working. It's handy in that way.
I had like 5 years ago one acquaintance who was working at Nordea Markets, and he told me back then, but this was 5 years ago already, that people that they choose what program they use, and some people use Python, other people use R, and some people use MATLAB. Is this still true, or is it nowadays so that actually most people use only Python, and there are only like a few exceptions that use anything else than that?
Well, it's mainly going to this that they like prefer that you would use Python, because like it's just this that sometimes there is this problem that someone, for example, like there has been one program that was done with this sauce, this like I don't know if it's even really a language or more like just this software, but you know that then if they, for example, would leave Nordea, then like no one knows how that like tool would work, and then it would need to be redone and so on, and if there are some errors, that's why they would prefer at least that you do that. And Nordea at least has pretty good is that they, for example, have a free Udemy account for you that you can just do whatever courses you want and learn all these things like on your free time as well. So they like support this that you learn on your own as well.
Yeah. So in your leisure time, then you can continue basically.
Yeah, that's basically what my passion has been now. But now I've had like some 3-month break from programming pretty much. Like, because I was doing this masters and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now, getting back to it.
Yeah, exactly. So let me just, if you just summarize, so your tip would be for students that they should know at an early stage what's their key interest, and then they should build their studies around that, and choose courses or specializations based upon that key interest that they have. Which was in your case automation in finance applications. Right?
Yeah, that's at least how I see it. And well, I also would like say that like the students that don't like stress too much, because it's always this that you need to have everything figured out like as soon as you're in school and as soon as you're out of school. But like just this that basically this that try to like find whatever path interests you, and maybe try some things that don't work at first, like just so you have this idea, and then when you like know what you want to do, like then be super like driven and just like work towards it. That, for example, this that I've been on my free time doing this coding. That for example helped me get this job like in the first place, because I remember when I was in this job interviews, I was the only one that had their laptop with them. I was like showing all kinds of fancy codes and like talking about all this algorithmic trading and all these things, just because they like actually interest me, that it wasn't even so much like work. So then they were like, oh, you're so passionate and all about this. So makes it easier to stand out like in working life as well.
Yeah, so basically everybody has to find her or his own niche in something, right? And then really go passionate in it, right?
Yeah.
And that was basically then so your advantage, because you had this passion for automation, and you had your laptop with you in the interview, and then they recognize, hey, here is someone really excited, we take this guy.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it was. And also this that students remember to have like fun along the way. But yes, I was doing a lot of work like in university and all this, but I've still had fun and seen friends and so on. It's not that serious in the end, and also like with Nordea, still it's just a company and everyone is like human and so on. Do not like stress too much.
Okay.
Everything like works out in there.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, and that you had time for this short interview. And I think that our students will be highly interested in that. And I'm very happy for you, very happy to see your progress, and happy also for your performance in your master thesis. This was outstanding, I would say. And let's see, we have now conducted the we made it as a paper, the thesis, and I'm interested to see what comes out, and let's keep in touch.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think we maybe can have at some point a follow-up meeting if you have time, just to check how you're doing and how things are evolving in Helsinki.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Joachim, thank you so much, and have a great summer.
Yeah, thank you. Likewise.
Thank you.
Talk to you again. Thanks.
Talk to you. Bye. Bye.